half full instead of half empty.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
it is interesting. So I do have a Christmas miracle. When I was a kid, my mother used to always make us watch this movie, A Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh yes.
And it was about Christmas miracle, right? And so I've been sharing with all of you the story of my cousin who has been in a coma now because of COVID for a month.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Christmas Eve marked a month that he had been in the hospital. Initially, it was a drug-induced coma. They removed everything. He was not responding. So now, Christmas Eve, it was on Christmas Eve, actually. The nurse noticed that there was some movement because, I had to rush out of here.
Right. Right.
And then Christmas Day, he opened his eyes on Christmas Day. It was the greatest blessing. Was able to communicate with his kids that were in town. And had a video chat on Duo with the family. He's blinking. He wasn't speaking, but he's blinking his eyes. He's responding to different commands and things. So it was a great feeling to be able to witness such a great thing, because it's after a month. Your faith is strong, but reality of someone standing this, it becomes it wears on that faith. So to be able to have that great expression of hope on a day of hope was just an amazing opportunity, Rob. So we're really great. So how are you guys? Hopefully you guys have had a Merry Christmas out there. You have had a blessed day, a blessed time with your year. This year is coming to a close, and as Rob said, we only have a few more days before we can truly say
goodbye, 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 goodbye.
And we've got to be very aware of the fact that 2020 has been, it's almost like I felt like we went through a boot camp this year, and it was about surviving the boot camp. So if you are still here,
I've been to boot camps. I know where boot camps like.
You say exactly right. But I want to talk to you. I want to begin to talk, and today we're going to have some conversation about preparing for greatness. I know there's a lot of you they're out there that have had all kinds of things that have happened this year. You had great expectations as it related to 2020. So many people at the beginning of the year was talking about, clear vision, perfect vision. No, it's going to be this, that. And so what happens, as you get to the end of the year and things don't turn out the way that you anticipated. And so I want this year, this beginning of this season, to really talk about how we can prepare for greatness amidst all of the things that we have experienced in the midst of the pandemic, in the midst of a food shortage and a healthcare crisis and a leadership crisis in America. How is it that we can continue to prepare for greatness? So that's what we're going to talk about. So I want you guys, especially those of you who are listening on the radio, call a friend, turn them on, tell them Straight Talk is on. We're going to talk about how do you prepare for greatness in the next year that we're going into, closing out this year strong and preparing for greatness. If you're on social media, I want you to tell them, hey, get to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. Let them know that we're going to be on, and they want to get in here, because next week what we're going to do is I want to bring in what I consider she is one of the greatest people that I know that does vision boards. And a lot of people do vision boards. I'm a vision board person. If you are a vision board person, I want you guys to, a vision board. And those of you who are listening, a vision board is a planning tool that many of us use when we prepare. And I do one for every single year. I put on there my goals, the things that I would like to achieve. And then in there, I see, where do I see myself at the end of the year? So it's a culmination of words and pictures that express what I desire and what I am pushing forward into the next year to complete by the next 12 months. And so it's a pictorium.
Oh, okay, because what I do in mine is I put goals for 20, whatever the year is. I've only met one goal because of COVID. It eliminated all the rest of the goals. So I push those goals into next year.
Well, exactly. One of the things that I realized, Rob, and I was sharing this with somebody else, is that all of the goals that I set out to meet for 2020, all of those things, I somehow, in a very quirky fashion, was able to meet those things. The response from those goals was not what I had anticipated, of course, because we spent 8 months of the year halfway shut down. But the fact that we're putting those things in alignment. So we're going to begin to talk about what is necessary for us to plan for greatness. And for those who are part of the village, we're getting back to that concept of talking about the village, because what we're going to see is that if each of us are planning and we're strategically moving forward to make great things happen in the year, moving forward. We've got to begin to see who are the people that we need to connect with, and putting together that vision board will help you to stay focused, so that every opportunity or every good opportunity is not one that you jump on, but understanding strategically who is aligned with where you're trying to go and what you're trying to accomplish becomes a key piece. So I want you guys to get involved with that conversation on next Sunday. We're going to have, her name is Miss Devetta McIntyre. I think she is one of the greatest vision board people. She makes it fun. And so we're going to have her on next week, and we're going to talk about, we're going to work through putting these vision boards together so that we can get through and everybody can do this together. It is so simple, and it is a reminder of what it is. I always say, you know what, you have to write it down. If it's not in writing, it does not exist. And so a vision board allows us to put in writing, and you got to put it on your wall. You got to put it somewhere where you remind yourself of those things that you set down to accomplish.
Interesting to say, because in my kitchen, I keep a big calendar there I had from when I was in the Navy. Yeah, I put the dates on, I change it every month.
Absolutely.
And then I put the list there, and I look at it, and when I'm in the kitchen, usually eat my breakfast or whatever, I'm standing there on the phone or eat my breakfast, I look at it, okay, I've done this, I've done this to do, whatnot. It's a reminder to me. It's not pictorial, but I guess in my mind, it's pictorial. But if you look at it, you say, oh, Ralph's got to do X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely. And what I often would encourage people to do, and as we do this on next week, Kawana Ray, write the vision, make it plain. You're absolutely right, Kawana. So I'm bringing in Devetta McIntyre is her name. She is out of Texas, and she has been for a long time the program director for Reach Media, which was Tom Joyner's station for so long. Now she's doing it for Ricky Smiley, all the programming, the cruises, the family reunion, all of those things. So she is phenomenal. She makes a lot of things happen all at once. And sometimes you talk about how busy I am, Rob. I look at her, I'm like, how do you manage all of these huge projects and are able to complete these things in such a profound way? So we're going to bring her in, and she's going to share with us how to really make a vision board that is going to help you to cast. Because once you write it on paper, you got to put it somewhere. And so what I always do, Rob, is I don't write mine necessarily on a piece of paper. I lock myself in a room with a chalkboard, and I put it on the chalkboard, and I make all of the connections, and then I snapshot it, and I keep a copy of it in my phone so that I can have it for future reference. All right, so those of you that are tuning in, let's get in here. Great Sunday evening. All of you that are listening to us, let's talk about what's on my mind before we begin to talk about preparing for greatness. I must take a pause for the cause and pay homage to the most wonderful, the illustrious Jackie Day. She is following. She's tuned in on social media with us on today. She is, and I already, she says, God bless you, son. She is Jackie Day. There used to be J&D Promotions. Jay was Magic Johnson, Christine Johnson, who was Magic Johnson's mom, and D was Jackie Day, Jackie Wade Day. She is phenomenal. A lot of what I have been able to accomplish in life, I would attribute to the fact she's watching her and being able to work with her and seeing how she was able to do certain things. I remember we met the first time we did the Jason Richardson basketball camp, which seems like now 20 something years ago. And just the way that she was managing, and she had her team together, and everyone had an assignment, and she had blue dots and green dots and yellow dots. And it really showed me how to be organized and prepared and systematic in the way that you make things happen. So I want to say, hey, Jackie Day, thank you for tuning in on today. Today, we're going to be talking about how we can prepare for greatness. All right. But before we do that, I want to talk about what's on my mind. Oh, my goodness, my people, my people, my people. So today it is, as I said, we are only a few days away from a new year. And if I had $1, I don't even need $1. If I had a quarter for every time I heard everyone say, I cannot wait till this year is over. And the fact of the matter is, it's been such a horrific year. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know what 2021 is going to bring to us. And so we got to make sure that we are preparing for greatness, whether it's 2020 ending and coming into new year, whatever happens, we can still prepare for greatness and still make great things happen.
If anything, 2020 has taught us, okay, or taught some people, is that as you move forward, be prepared and have a backup plan or some kind of alternative plan that you can move forward with. Just a contingency
plan.
Because, plan A. I'll talk this to my son since he was a kid. I say, G, plan A works fine, but have B and C and D standing by just in case, and be flexible, to accommodate.
It is so important. We say flexibility, I say fluid. The difference is flexibility. There's a limit to how much you can bend, But if you take water and you put it in a jar, it takes the form of that jar. You take water, you pull it in a pan, it's going to take the form. So we have to make sure that we're being fluid as we begin to put these things in place to be great. And so I'm excited for you guys on today. So, but the next thing I want to talk about is number 45. He put the kibosh. Or he's holding out to the last minute on these stimulus checks. I don't want a $600 stimulus check. Well, sir, you have only been the president for 365 days of this year, 61 now, 361 days of this year, or 60 days of this year. You've had an entire year to say what it is that you wanted to do for the American public during the midst of this pandemic. Instead of dealing with the issues and addressing the needs of American people, you took enough time to sign your name on the first check, but you didn't think about what people would need as the years and the time ensued. So I want to make sure that we are staying focused with what's going on. We have a little time. There is another opportunity the Democrats put forward. Yeah, you want a $2,000 check? They gave him a $2,000 check, and of course, the Republican Party put it down. My personal thought is, hey, give the people the $600, something that they can agree on. We all understand that this is only a small drop in the bucket, and moving forward, there'll be a need for additional aid for America. It's funny because we talk about how great this nation is, and there are other nations such as Canada that are paying their people $2,000 a month through the entire time of this pandemic because they understand the need and the important role that government, when needed, has to play. So I want us to make sure that we are staying tuned to what's going on. The stimulus package is something's going to happen. Stay tuned. We got to love and take care of each other. As we saw, one thing that I saw over the Christmas holiday that blessed my soul was how many groups and individuals and just got community organizers were getting together and putting together programs or food drives or gift drives and for our kids in our community. And so people did not go without because our community, the elders in our village, rose to the occasion. And as we begin to move forward, we have to be able to see more of those occasions, Rob. We have to really begin to get back to the nuts and bolts of reforming the walls of the community, of the village, and really bringing back the concept of those elders who are going to say, listen, this is what we need in the village. They're going to assess what we need. Then they will make a plea to the village to come together and to make great things happen. And then we will see the village execute, taking care of our own needs. That's the only way to do it. A government handout is something that will suffice for a period of time. But when you rely on someone handing you something and giving you something on a regular basis, you are now dependent on that individual, and they control what you are able to do and what you're not able to do. So we want to make sure that we take care of one another. That is the goal, hashtag goal for the village in 2021. Let's make sure that the village is taking care of the village. All right. Now, a little bit of humor and a little bit of anger at the same time, Rob. I want to talk about Pardon City, USA. Okay, we have seen, the pardon power of the president, the ultimate pardon power of the president gives the president the right to right wrongs that have taken place in our nation.
Federal cases, on state cases.
Absolutely, on federal cases. And so what that means, and Terry, you said it correctly, a bunch of people doing the little things that adds up a lot, because that's what real greatness is. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But he has this ability to pardon, in which on federal cases, and actually there was a young man that was from Saginaw that was pardoned a few years ago. And so what it means is there's a case where there's information that has changed, or there's something that was overlooked, or maybe justice wasn't particularly served in a particular way, or maybe it was unfair in the way that justice was handed down. These individuals have the right to petition the president for a pardon, which usually takes place in their final years. Now, we saw that he came out the gate pardoning the sheriff, in Arizona for the crimes that he was doing. So we already knew. Y'all already know what time it is. So we began to see, and we're not done yet. We got a few days left here, and he has been using this pardon power.
Well, it's not just that, too. Now, he has 30 days, almost 30 days to do whatever damage he wants to do as president, because it's going to be a whole lot of turnout. Now, the troublesome thing is Congress becomes new in the first week of January.
Absolutely.
So everything goes back to zero at that time, all the bills and whatnot, which is why this whole bill, omnibus bill, is important for it, to get passed. But now he's pocketing the veto right now. But still, we have all that debate. So, but as president, he still has a whole lot of damage he could do before 12 o'clock on January 20th.
And nobody's excited about that. Let's get that right, okay? And this is no longer a Democratic Republican issue. This is an American issue. How do we feed our people? How do we take care of our people? But when I get to this part, it has become like, remember how Oprah Winfrey's show was? You get a pair, you get a pair, we all get a pair. He is literally giving pardons to every single individual. He came to drain the swamp, but instead of draining the swamp, he has pardoned the swamp. Including individuals, blackmail, Jared Kushner's father. I mean, family members, friends, anyone who has committed a crime, may commit a crime, look like they commit a crime, thought about committing a crime. They are all now receiving pardons. And now it has brought into question, do we need to really do something and maybe go back and remove this from the Constitution? I don't think so, because I think this is a president that we have seen that has not really stuck to the norms and the established norms of our country. I think that we need to eradicate, raid ourselves, raid like the bugs and the spray, rid ourselves of him as soon as possible. So we're all sitting here.
The opportunity to fix all of that was 2 years ago when we had the impeachment process.
Absolutely.
And then also the cabinet still had the 25th Amendment because of imposed, but no one wanted to go there. So the opportunities that were there are now abandoned, because by the time all that gets done, if that ever gets done, it's ridiculous.
Rob, we are where we are at this point.
Exactly. Where we are.
So buckle up, strap yourselves in, and prepare for the wave, or prepare for the ride that's at hand. All right, let's get into our conversation, because it's going to want to make sure that we get a solid foundation on our conversation today, talking about preparing for greatness. And I'm glad, because we have an unabridged remainder of time. There are no commercials, so we can get through this conversation.
Quite. Put one in.
Okay, no, we don't want to. We're going to need this time. So those of you who are out there, if you can grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. Of course, you can always come back to the page here and catch anything that you might miss, if there's anything worth missing or catching. All right. But know that we're going to have this conversation today, and this will begin to catapult us as we begin to talk about preparing for greatness. And we're going to talk about the individual first, and then we'll talk about preparing for greatness as it relates to our community, how can we, the village, restore the village, all of those things. All right. So once again, hopefully you all have had a safe and a wonderful Christmas and are preparing for a great new year. If you are, I want to begin to speak to those individuals that want to live your dreams and not your fears. Those individuals that are interested in taking your career to the next level. If you're searching for the fuel to perform better in business, if you're interested in finding ways to the people to network with you and to take your life and your cause to the next level, you are the ones I want you to lean in, because that's what I want to talk about today. Individuals who are ready and preparing to go to the next level. Well, Pastor K, Kareem, there is a pandemic going on. How in the world can we do this in the midst of pandemic? I'm going to tell you, there were businesses that have started and have been successful in the midst of a pandemic. And it's all about preparation, and it's all about targeting, and it's about planning, and we can make this happen for ourselves. I need you to understand that everybody did not suffer during the pandemic. As a matter of fact, there are a number of people who fared better because they understood, had an understanding of the time, and took advantage of certain situations that allowed them to come out ahead in a situation and actually use some government funds to get some things going. So let's talk about this. The first thing that I want us to do, and I'm going to give you guys 7 steps on today, or 7 things that we need to begin to examine and think about when we begin to have this conversation about preparing for greatness. All right. Preparing for greatness. I'm going to give you 7 steps today. Next week, we're going to follow these 7 steps up. It will be the first Sunday of the new year when we come back on next week, Rob. Wow. It is the beginning of 2021. We have spent 10 months of this year on lockdown. So that means that you should have a lot of fuel, a lot of passion on reserve that we can utilize to tap into, to begin to move this vehicle of purpose. I always say that Passion is the fire of life. It is the fuel that moves the vehicle of purpose. And so on today, we're going to begin to examine that. The first thing that I want to begin to talk about is when we look at where we're going for next year and take it in increments, I want you to begin to magnify your vision. What does that mean? I want you to magnify. Magnify means not to put it under a microscope, but to make it big, make it greater, make it larger. All right. I want you to stop thinking small. Oh my goodness. A great friend of mine, Brian Pruitt, would always say to me, hey, if you ever want anything done, and if you're afraid of things, don't ask Bowen, because Bowen can't do anything small. I struggle with doing small things, Rob, because I think that we have the ability to do supernatural things, extraordinary things. And when I do small is something that we can do in and of ourselves on a day while we're sleeping. So I want you to begin to magnify your dreams. Stop thinking small. All right. People of little significance pray little bitty prayers. If you have no significance on this planet, then it's okay for you to pray small prayers. All right. Because you're expecting to remain impotent. And that word is important. We're expecting to remain impotent and not do very much. What does it mean to be impotent? When we think about impotent, the first thought that probably comes to your mind is the fact that a man can't get it up, or a man can't produce.
No, actually, I use that word.
What comes to mind?
When I do some of my writing on my blog, but not I do impotent every once in a while, because I know it means powerless. You're not strong. So impotent actually just means powerless.
Yeah. So that is the actual definition. Powerless. And I think that's great. I was going to say that we often use that concept. We come to the thought of, he's impotent. He can't produce. He does not have the ability to.
But women can be impotent too.
Absolutely.
That's how you take away the sexual.
No, absolutely. And that's where I'm going. So I wanted to take from what we would normally think and go back to that base definition. Impotent means to lack power, the ability to do something. And so what we need to understand is that when we pray, or we begin to operate, or we think small, or we prepare small, or we say we're just going to do a little bit, when we begin to do those things, what we're doing is that we're doing operations in impotency, meaning that we're saying that we lack the ability, the power, the wherewithal to do something that has the ability to impact on a great level. Stop thinking small, okay? And I want you to begin to understand that you have the potential to be greater than you could ever imagine. I need you to increase your faith in your big dream. I want you to take a quick second. When you think about setting a big dream for 2021, Rob, if you were to say, I'm going to have my biggest dream for 2021, what would that look like?
Well, I'm a positive person, confident in myself, so I'm going forth in confidence, even though I have things that move me around. So my big dream will be something that I've envisioned in my mind for a long time. I may not always get it or get it in the way I want, as fast as I want, but I'm still proceeding towards it. For example, I want to get a new home, or I want to move to a new state later on. By the time I'm 65, I want to move out of Saginaw to someplace else.
Why would you want to leave sunny Saginaw? This is so amazing here.
I'm not from Saginaw, so I miss the beach a big deal.
So I want you to begin. Those of you who are out there, what is your big dream? What is the biggest dream that you can dream? What is the thing that if you were able to accomplish in 2021, within 12 months from today, it would really blow your mind, like, oh my God, I actually did this. That is the thing that we want. There was one of the DJs, and I can't remember who it was, Kermit Crockett or somebody back in the day.
Oh, yes.
They used to always say, yeah. They used to always say, if you shoot for the moon and you miss, at least you'll be among the stars. And as a kid growing up in the city Saginaw, hearing that over and over in my ears, it was something that stuck with me. Like, if I don't make my goal and I shoot for the moon, or I shoot for the sun, guess what? You'll be among the stars. So we've got to get out of this habit of thinking small. Let's begin to think about a big dream, understanding that when you begin to prepare for a big dream, that you have the ability to produce much more than you have. Most people have only used 10% of their brain, Rob.
Yeah, that's what I hear. But it's more than just that, Kareem. You have to have a certain confidence in yourself. You have to be secure within yourself. If you're not secure within yourself, or you have issues, whatnot, then you need to talk to someone about that, because you need to be confident in yourself. That's the only way you can push forward. You can have all the dreams you want, but if you don't believe that you can achieve anything, even the smallest thing, then it means nothing. You always think small. You never think large because you're not secure in yourself. You're not confident in what you want to do.
And Robert, you're putting the cart before the horse. We're going to talk about how do we begin to get through that process. And what you're talking about starts with who am I? And Terry Reed, I see you out there. I see you putting that dream out there. You're putting that vision out there. You know what? It's so funny because that is a similar unit. I was thinking 4 to 8. You told me 10. He's like, if I get that 10 unit building, then that is where I'm going to begin. All right. So I want you guys, what is your big dream for 2021? Don't worry about 2020. Looking today and saying, if I could only do this in 2020, in the next 12 months, this would be what I would consider a really big dream. I want you to think about that thing, write it down right now. Okay. All right. The next thing I want us to begin to do is I want to talk about, as Rob was saying, he's leading, he's stealing my show in here, discovering your true identity. Let's talk about that. Who are you? And it seems like such an easy question. When I say, Rob, who are you, Rob? What would be your answer if I asked you who you were, Rob?
Oh, geez. Masculine, sensualist, sexy,
Oh, Lord.
It is what it is, baby. It is what it is.
Hey, he said masculine, sensual, sexy. He getting all of them in there. All right. Why stop, Rob?
Intelligent, wise, experience, all these things that made me over the years, which is why when people say, well, what would you do if you were 15 years younger? No, I'm where I am today, and I am who I am today because of my experiences, good and bad.
Absolutely.
So that's who I am today. So that makes me who I am today. When I'm on the air back there, I'm the real person. I'm the genuine deal. So that's who I am. And myself, I can look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm not fake, I am genuine, I am the real thing.
And so we're talking about authenticity.
Exactly.
We're talking about who authentically are you. When we begin to discover who we are, we got to begin to say, oftentimes we will say, well, I'm a lawyer, or I'm a doctor, or I'm a radio personality, or, I'm a coach. Those are our jobs, and we should never define ourselves by what we do, our jobs, our careers, our occupation. Why?
Now you know why I said what I said first.
Absolutely. The reason we don't do that is because my mom's out there like, all right, Rob. But the reason why we don't define ourselves by what we do is because we have learned in life that 1 minute we can have one career and the tide changes and we have to reinvent ourselves. Exactly. And if we tie ourselves to what we have done or what we do in terms of our career path, then we lose our identity the moment we change paths. So who we are has to be greater than what you do.
And to the young people, who you want to be, it's the same thing.
Absolutely. So we don't want to talk about who we are in relationship to our career, but who are you truly? And Rob gave us some really good adjectives. What are the adjectives that you would use to describe who you are? He said that he was sensual and masculine and sexy. He is wise. And what was the last one? Experience. He painted us imagery through the words. You use the words to paint a picture of exactly who you are. Now, I want to ask all of those that are listening, both on the radio waves and those who are listening through social media, who are you? How would you define yourself outside of the fact that you are a parent? And that's a part of who you are. I mean, but outside of what you do, and your job and your career, I'm a parent. I'm a wise individual.
Outside your gender too, because
absolutely.
I'm a male person. I'm a female person. Outside your gender, who are you as the aura of you? Someone looks upon you and says, "Oh, I see Kareem Bowen as X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, and D." I don't see him as a man per se. I see him more than just a man.
And we're going to talk about that because as we begin to define ourselves, it is so important that we don't take what other people have used to define ourselves. Exactly. I always talk about two individuals or two types of things that are very important. And those of us that are listening, I need you to understand there are two things that are important. When we self-define, we are talking about our character. This is who I am. When the lights go out, this is the individual that I am. When no one's looking, this is who I am. That's truly who you are. I'm not talking about personality. Oftentimes, we will define ourselves or we will allow other people to define us based upon their image or what they've seen us do.
Or you were told to do.
Absolutely. And there's something called, and we're going to talk about this, especially as we begin to talk about legacy, because the last step of what we're going to talk about is really living out your legacy. But as we look at this and we're defining who we are and we're discovering our true identity, it's important that we understand that you know, we've got to get into that we've made some mistakes in life, but that happens, all right? You may not like the answer when you really begin to do the work. Because I'll tell you, in 2018, I asked myself that question, Kareem, who are you? And many people would think, oh, man, Kareem, he does this, he does this, he does it. No, that's what I do. But who am I as an individual? And as I began to pull up the hood and begin to look at the things that kept me working as an individual underneath, I began to realize that there was a great deal of arrogance that was in place. I realized that there were some things about myself that I did not like. I realized that there were some areas in all of the self-assurance and all of the positivity that I pushed forward, and that there were some areas that I was still insecure in. And as I began to look at this, I said, Kareem, you are a great person, but you know what? You're insecure in this area. You're arrogant. It's called taking a self-assessment. And until you begin to discover who you truly are, then you'll never begin to understand what things have to change and where you need to point your arrows in order to be great success. And the first thing that I realized, Rob, as I began to define and discover who I was.
You said discover. Now, the next thing you have to do is admit who you are.
Okay, absolutely.
You have to accept who you are and then figure out, okay, what can I change or adjust to make myself a better person? Not because someone said I'm arrogant or I'm pleasant, whatever it is. I've discovered that these things I do not like about myself.
Absolutely.
So figure out how to figure it out. I have to accept it.
And so in that discovery process, you gotta sometimes swallow, eat some crow. Yeah. You gotta look at some things. I know my family, I say, you talk to my, they say, your family will be very raw with you. And many times we'll just, say friends and things of that nature, are jealous or they're haters. We're so quick to pin people as haters. But the reality of the situation is we've got to begin to discover our true identity. And I see you out here, Dallas out there. She says, mover and a getter. I don't move or shake nothing. After the shaking stops, it remains in the same spot. Get removed. My work ethic speaks volumes. Saginaw needs money. Be on the lookout next year for more of what Saginaw's doing. So I began to look at this, and what I realized, Rob, is I had to deal with me as an individual, because if I am arrogant or if I have an air, even if that's not where my heart is, that comes away and people take that away, then that means that I can't be effective in terms of impacting people's lives the way that I desire.
That's something I learned in the military. I learned a lot of things constantly in the military. That was too hard on my troops and whatnot. People who experienced me, who saw me and loved me and respected me, brought me aside and said, Rob, you need to do so and so, and realize everyone is a different individual.
Absolutely.
You have some issues to work out on your own.
Absolutely. And Jackie Day, you're absolutely right. It's called keeping it real with yourself. And that is sometimes the hardest thing to do, because we want to project and we want to see ourselves in a positive light. But it's okay. You can be a great person and still have some areas of your life that need to be tended to. And so what I realized, Rob, is what we do. We become really good at the things that we're really good at. Okay, so in discovering my true identity, I realized that there were some areas that I became really good at being really good at, because those were the things that came natural. And the things that needed additional work, the things that needed tending to, holding my tongue. I'm still learning not to always speak when I don't have to speak, because I'm a person, if I'm going to tell you like it is. And then also understanding that telling and being honest and being real does not mean that I have to be mean or that I have to be harsh or I have to be, I have to learn how to package that in a way that I can deliver that information in a tactful way. So I began to realize these are some things that I really don't like about Kareem. People are telling me, oh my goodness, Kareem, you're amazing. Oh, Kareem, you're doing this. I can't believe, oh, God is, doing these great things in your life. And that's what people were seeing. That was my personality.
About you and I working together, because you're
absolutely
about me, it said, well, Rob is this, that, and the other. And then what someone else said, you have to develop your own perception. And you realize, oh, okay, this is why we get along, and Rob is this. And I knew some things about me already. But
and Rob, can we use that for just 1 second?
Sure,
one of the things, the dynamics between Rob and I, and you guys see me, sometimes I'll give y'all he don't see it because I'm looking behind his back and I just want to bust him upside the head. But I'll tell you why Rob has been good for me. And this is so important. And I hope you guys really pay attention to what I'm getting ready to say. They thought that we would be good for a different reason, Rob. But I see the fact that we work together and we are good for each other. You're good for me. I'll tell you why you're good for me. Because I'm an individual who has for whatever reason in my entire life, since I was a kid, I used to always say to my grandma, I don't know why people listen to me, but I say things, I pay attention, I'll do the research, so I kind of have an understanding of certain things. But I was always taught that if you say what you say in a way that you believe in what you're saying, even if you don't even know what you're saying is correct, people will follow you and people will listen to you. And so I realized that I've always been a leader. There is not, as I was growing up, leader in this, leader in that. Among my friends, I was going to be the leader to determine where we were going to go, what we were going to do. Then I became a pastor. Now I'm a leader of the church, and these people are following. In my business career, I left working for the state government to start becoming a sports manager for the NBA. Now I am managing the portfolio of players. And so they have me in to come in and to work with them, but they have to also understand that I need you to do this. So they are actually my boss, but I'm saying, listen, you have to do this, and I'm convincing them to do this. People are catering to me because they want to be next to these athletes. And so I have the right. Hey, if I don't want to be at that meeting at that time, I'm going to change the meeting because I'm in control. And so many instances in my life, I've been the leader. I've been in control. People were moving based upon what I said. And coming into this situation, another alpha male who comes in and likes his things a certain way, there was a certain amount of humility that I had to take on. And I'll say this, Rob, we've never had this conversation ever before, but this is very appropriate. I realized I could continually try to force and be the alpha male who was in charge. But the fact of the matter is you had something that I needed.
And something you said, because I didn't realize that you were my boss here. I said, well, it's his show, and he can do what he wants to do. But then I'm responsible for being a professional, make sure the show comes out good. So my butt is on the line as well.
And so I had to, in that moment, I realized, Kareem, you've got to bring yourself down a peg, not be so arrogant, not be so strong-minded. You've got to listen to Rob. And I've seen that, and being able to have that relationship with you and to submit my leadership in that respect, in terms of what you were doing, you have been absolutely invaluable in terms of how we have worked here on Straight Talk, and then also going into the other market with WSGW. I shut up and I listened because you're like, no, Kareem, this is when we're off the air. He's getting, no, Kareem, you can't do it that way. And I'm like, yo, Rob, you need to chill. This is my show. Did you check the marquee? But the reality of the situation is,
it comes out of your product, though.
You did something. You said, listen, I'm just trying to show you how that we got to do this the right way. It's got to be good. It's got to be quality. And so what I need you to do is just listen to what I'm saying. I've been doing this for a while. So I had to check my ego. But that's something I've been working on for a period of time, and I recognize that.
Too. And I said, okay, well, because I could easily use my cool. I said, no. I said, I'm here for a reason. And because I respect you as a person and respect the show, this is why I put my best foot forward, because I don't do anything half-assed. I do not do that half-assed, I just had to say that.
And so what we did is, in that moment, I shut up. And with everything that I think I know, with all of my experiences, sitting in Tom Joyner's seat, I have some pictures of me sitting in Tom Joyner's seat down when he was on the radio. I had to listen to you. And in listening to what your instructions and your wisdom, I gained an understanding of something that I didn't understand. You're still whipping me into shape on how to do those promos and those spot drops and things of that nature. But I said to myself, if I continually allow what I have always done to lead me in this moment, I lose the value of you being here. And so I say this to everyone that's out there. Discovering your true identity means that you have to do the hard work of dealing with the pieces of who you are that are challenging, that are a struggle, and the things that you really don't like. I'll tell you, in 2018, as I sat down and I began to make a list, and I shared this with my church family and my home family. Thank you, Sharice. I sat there and I didn't like a lot of the things that I saw about myself. And I went on an apology tour. I started like, I'm so sorry. I recognize this about me. I don't like this about me. Give me an opportunity to work myself differently. There's still things that I'm working on, but in understanding that I did not have to be perfect and removing that Kareem is this and the expectation of what they have, and beginning to create an individual that I was good with. Once 2019 came, I felt so much better about myself. When 2020 came in, I had so much peace because I was okay with Kareem. And so now I'm able to do things and execute and plan and move forward because I am okay with Kareem. So now I've got my headspace clear. I don't have to worry about what people think, because Kareem is good with Kareem. So as you begin to discover your true identity, you're really getting to removing all of the things that blocks your real greatness.
You don't need to carry.
Man, come on. You're removing all of this baggage that holds you down and that prevents you from really getting on that launch pad and rocketing and going to the next stratosphere of what your real potential is. All right. So I want us to begin to do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to magnify your vision. Then we're going to discover who you truly are. And then we're going to begin defining your self-image. And I think this is so important. I want to just share with some of the things that they're saying out there on the callers. Thank you, Ms. Wade Day. I have wonderful qualities. We're talking about getting these together. Kevin Marshall, he says powerful stuff here. I hope you guys are continually listening and really giving us some feedback. You have a great impact on those who come in contact with you. You are definitely okay. That's all good, y'all. Y'all ain't saying nothing. All right. I appreciate all of those comments that you guys are making. But so I want to begin now to talk about defining your self-image. Okay. What do you see when you look in the mirror? I want you to get that image in your head right now, just for a moment. What is it that you see when you look in the mirror? Take a quick second. If you got to close your eyes to do this, ask yourself the question, who do you see? What, not who, but what do you see when you look in the mirror? Now that you have that, what do you think others think when they see you? What do your family think about you? What does your friends think about you? Those who are closest to you. What do they see when they look at you? That's the first question that I want you to ask. Write that down if you can, if you're taking notes. The second thing is, how different is how you see you and how they see you?
Perception factor.
Oh my goodness, perception. But you've got to do this with people who really know who you are. This is not going to work.
Who you are.
And they don't have to respect who you are, but they have to know who you are, Rob. I'm going to tell you why. Because there are a lot of people who respect who I am, but I know I could stack the table. Like I have some folks on Jackie Wade Day. She's a fan of Kareem. She's dealt because I was learning from her. And so I did everything that I could and followed those steps. And there's individuals that see me in the light of pastor. Or maybe I've spoken some words of wisdom that helped change their life, or maybe I helped their business or something. And so I could go to those individuals and say, hey, who do you see me? And I would get great accolades and great rewards. But there are people who know me and they really know me. So if I want to know who I am, I sometimes, and this is the hardest thing in the world, I go to the person who knows me best. I ask my mother, what do you think about me? She'll be like, ha ha. That's what she'll do.
That's Geraldine.
Yeah, that's Geraldine. She was like, you're arrogant, you talk too much, and she'll go through a litany of things. And it's not to hurt my feelings, but many times I could see her just sitting back and she won't say anything. She's like, when you get ready to really know what's going on, ask me and I'll tell you the truth. And you need those people in your life who are willing to be honest with you. They've got to be willing to be real with you. And when you are beginning to define yourself and you see who you're seeing in the mirror, because I'll tell you, our perception of who we are is highly skewed. We judge everyone else based upon their performance, but we judge ourselves based upon our intention. And it's important that we have an opportunity to ask other people. My mother says, but I love you, son. I'm telling the truth. She'll be the first one. She's like, you know what? You're arrogant. You talk too much. You're a rebel. She told me at one point that I was a rebel rouser. I was like a rebel rouser, but I knew what she meant. She meant that I'm the individual that if something's come up, I'm going to speak and I'm going to say something.
I would love to, because as a parent, I understand it completely.
Absolutely.
My own kid, I'm trying to get him to understand. So he's young. I said, but maybe one day he'll look. Because I do a self-check on myself all the time. So what did I say wrong? What did I do wrong? What could I change? What perception did I leave with him? I realized, well, he's young. 24 years old, he hasn't been out there, and dad knows more about certain things in life to help him through it. And I could see that in Geraldine's case, she's looking out for you because she's your mom, she wants you to succeed.
And I have to take into account that she's lived a little longer than I have. And this is hard. I mean, this is You're talking about I have traveled the world on a first class ticket. I've sat at and then I have to come home, and this lady who's about 5'8" gets in my face and say, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you, everybody else may be afraid to tell you this, but I'm gonna tell you that this is the real deal, and I'm only doing it to help you, son." And I'll get mad, I'll be frustrated sometimes, like she just hating on me, she mad about my shine. But the fact of the matter is, I am a part of her legacy, and so she only has a desire to see me better. And we've got to all begin to tap into who are the individuals that will be honest with you. And it's not about them hating, but it's about the fact that they have a vested interest into seeing you be the absolute best that you can. Those are the individuals that you have to listen to. And so when I get home, I take that lump of log of hurt feelings and broken emotions, and I begin to unpack it. Many of us will get the information, but we never unpack the information. That means we don't take the time to really look at it and process it and really see what's going on. Absolutely, Terry, you're absolutely right. That's what honestly sharpens you. Thank you, Max. I found you to be a very honest person who will call an apple and not pretend like it could possibly be. Absolutely. So that's who I am, but I realized that there was some work. So we've got to begin as we begin to self-define. How do we see? What do we see when we look in that mirror? And what is it that how do other people see us? And then ask ourselves, how different are those two images? And as we begin to note that those images are very differently, we've got to say, how can I bring these two things together? That these two things that are so different, or the areas that they're different, we can then bring in and we can allow them to be one particular image, so that we're oneness in terms of how we are viewed by others, and also how, because there's something called a public success and a private failure. And I often say this to people, that our children deserve the best of us instead of giving them what's left to us. And what that means is that your greatest memory, your greatest ministry, or your greatest effort, or your greatest gift, your greatest impact in life should be those of your own house. I see so many men and women that are doing great things, and the world thinks that they're great, but when they come back to their home, their own family, and those people who really know them, they're in, how can you lead if your home is in shambles? So, and so we have to make sure that how we view ourselves and how those who are closest to us view us are one in the same, that they are congruent. That means that they line up piece by piece and they go together. I see Kevin. Yes, thank you, sir, for your input tonight. Terry Reed, oh, you can't be constructively criticized. You're not quite ready to attain greatness. Absolutely. And so we've got to begin to make sure, and those of you, especially those of you who are having small children, and we're talking about preparing for greatness, take your children on this journey with you. Oftentimes, we will prepare to do great things. We'll prepare to start a business, and we're working with friends and those people who are part of that process, and we don't include our children. We're creating legacy in everything that you do. Parents, listen to me. Everything that you do as you prepare to be great, however greatness looks, you are teaching and you are instructing and you are giving wisdom to your children, whether you realize it or not. And if you tell them that it is most important to look good to the public and to do great in the public and to achieve great things, but you don't invest in the time with those who are closest to you and those you have brought into the world, you are perpetuating the issues that we are having in the village. Those are the kids that end up, creating crimes and doing things because no one has shown them a course or a path to which we can make great things happen. You are also constructive criticism. I'm doing better about constructive criticism, because I can tell you, nobody wants to hear where they can be better. And that was something that I learned a long time ago, that to be teachable and to have someone correct you is much better, because guess what? You'll gain not only the wisdom from that individual like you, Rob, but then you also gain a what do you call it? A confidant, an ally that will say, you know what, this person was willing to listen. And I'll tell you, I have learned in business.
Out of love, it's like your mom. Your mom is your ally. She's not just your mom; she's your ally as well, because she's come to you correctly and to your face and say, "Kareem, you're this or that," but in reality, I see this about you, and so this is what you need to fix or try to adjust in your life so that you can be a better person.
Absolutely.
And because you love her, you expect that from her.
I'm going to say this real quick. Jackie Day's on here. I want to bring her up again. Jackie Wade Day. Jackie Wade Day, literally, she has the Rolodex. I want to say that I live for. She has the Rolodex that I live for. She is the individual say, Jackie, I need, and she will come like, oh, why don't we call the president of the Bahamas? Why don't we, this woman has me over in the British Virgin Islands doing a basketball camp with, who was it? Carmelo Anthony and Kareem Rush and Jason. It was crazy. But she gets on the phone and she'll call the owners of the Bonanza Ranch. She'll get on, oh, let me call Tyler Perry. She just knows absolutely everybody. And what I said to you all was that when you are willing to submit and be corrected and be, because there were a couple of times she said, well, not Kareem, that's not the way I do it. You need to understand. And so I listened to her and I changed those things. I took it actively. I accepted the criticism. You gain an ally. And because she said she saw that I was willing to be taught, I've realized in business, anytime you are teachable and you are coachable, and if this is preparing for greatness, you open up a place that you can be critiqued and you can take criticism, even when it's harsh. When people see that you're willing to do that, you gain an ally. And when you gain that ally, you now gain access to all of the information, all of the understanding, and the wealth of connections that individual has. There is not anybody that I can't contact, Jalinda Wade Day, and say, Mama Wade, this is what we need. And she'll say, son, give me this information. I'll send out a letter. We'll get it done.
I saw that first time in the military. The guys will follow me because I looked out for them and I told them. And so they're teachable people.
So greatness starts with us defining, first of all, getting a clear understanding of who we are, our true identity, then defining ourselves, okay? And then we have to say what you need to do is to begin getting your self-image to be congruent with what people see about you. And it may take some time. This is a emotional and a spiritual process. All right. So that's number 3. Number 1, what is it? Magnify your vision. Number 2, discovering your true identity. Number 3, defining your self-image. Number 4 is overcoming the past. And I'm going to spend the bulk of what we're going to talk about. There's 3 more points, but this one is going to be very important. And I want you guys to say this with me. You are not your past mistakes. I am not my past failures. Say that. Come on. I am not my past failures. That is so important. Yes, you have made mistakes. And get this, you're going to make more mistakes in the future. But you must learn to forgive yourselves of it all. The greatest and the hardest thing that I ever did in my life is to forgive myself of the greatest mistakes, the things that I wasn't happy about. I had to accept it, own it, and then I had to forgive myself of those things. Because when we don't forgive ourselves of our mistakes, we live to continually keep those pieces going in some area of our lives, all right? And once you forgive yourself, I need you to do for yourself what you struggle to do for others. Once you forgive yourself, I need you to forget about those failures. So don't just forgive yourself. Okay, I take the L on that one. That was my bad. Now you've got to begin to forget that those mistakes existed. Don't forget that you went down this path and you ran into a pothole, but you've got to forget it and allow yourself to be brave and daring. And sometimes you may have to go down the same path and use a different trajectory. That means you lift off at a different point to get over the hurdle that you didn't before, all right? So I want to make sure that we are understanding that these things are essential. I am not my past failures. That is so important. Everybody should just type that in the tagline. I am not my past failures. You cannot carry your old baggage around with you and expect to have a new result. You need to forget what you have left behind, leave it behind, bury it, burn it, whatever you got to do, and press forward to what is ahead. This is the thing you got to realize. And this happens in relationship. This happens in business. This happens whenever you have to deal with other individuals. When we don't deal and we don't forgive ourselves and forget the things that we have done wrong, what happens is we pack that bag up and then we go to a new opportunity that we're excited about. And what do you do when you get to a hotel or to a new place or new destination? You unpack. So the unforgiveness that you put together in your luggage, you packed it up and you brought it with you. And before you know it, this new attempt at doing this great thing. Yes, you've had businesses before. Forget about it. Just because you've had a business, you've made some mistakes, doesn't mean that the next person is going to have the same response to the things that you've done. So you've got to let those things go and not allow this new opportunity, this new chance this new thing, a possibility to be great, to be hindered by the baggage that you're unpacking. Because before you know it, you'll unpack the bag and the new opportunity, and it will look like the old opportunity. So we've got to remember to let ourselves be forgiven and then to let it go. Today is a brand new day. All right, really quickly, we got 3 more minutes. Number 5, and I'll run through these all together. Establish a new status quo. This is the thing that I am doing right now. Establishing a new status quo. What is a status quo? A status quo is, how a way of doing things, a way of just how things operate on a daily basis. It is your expected routine of how you live and you govern your life. And as we plan to be exceptional and we do great things and we're phenomenal in this new year, it is not doing the same old job with the same bad decisions in the same environment. It's not the same, but it's a new status quo. That means I am setting up pathways based upon the data that I've gotten, and I've forgiven myself on the past. I forgive myself. I let it go, and I forgot about it. But you know what I did? I began to establish a pattern that looks differently than what got me to where I was when I made that last failure. So if I have a bad situation occur, I learn from it. The only wasted opportunity and wasted time or wasted event is the one that you do not learn from. All right, so establish a new status quo. Prepare for the harvest. You've got to prepare. Sow some seeds into where you're going. That's number 6. And then number 7, living your legacy. Your life is not for you. All right, we're going to get through 5, 6, and 7 on next week, but it has come to the end of an hour. I'm so excited. I hope you guys have had a good time with us on today. Tune in next week as we begin to talk about vision boards and preparing for greatness. I need you guys to realize that you are capable of greater than you could ever imagine, but it is necessary for us to tune in together to make this happen. We can do it. Let's do this. Come on. You are not your past failures, but there's greatness on the inside. This is Kareem. I'm tuning off. Tune in next week with more Straight Talk on KISS 107.1. God bless you all. Grace and peace.
Listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen by the host, its guest, or call-ins do not necessarily represent the opinion of this